At 2 a.m., I discovered an incredible secret. My wife's whispered lies exposed a life-changing truth. The clock on the wall ticked relentlessly. The soft hum of the refrigerator filled the background, but it was the distant sound of Lisa's voice that twisted Jake's insides. At 2 a.m., this stalwart mechanic, a devoted father living in a small Midwestern town, found himself on the precipice of something inexplicable. He lay wide awake in bed, recalling the laughter from the backyard barbecue just hours earlier. The sound of sizzling meat, children's laughter, everything felt perfect, until it didn't. As he slipped into the dim hallway, dread pooled in his stomach. Each creak of the old floorboards felt like a disruptive echo of a perfect life. Squinting through the soft light emanating from the living room, Jake strained to catch the words tumbling from Lisa's lips. "I'll fix it," she whispered, urgency lacing her tone. "They can't know, it's just temporary." Each phrase caused his heart to constrict, the air thickening with weighty implications. This was no casual bedtime chat. Jake's mind raced. How could Lisa, his rock, the mother of his spirited 8-year-old daughter and curious 6-year-old son, be hiding something so monumental? The sense of betrayal came crashing in waves. Jake had always considered himself a protector, a steadfast father who shielded his family from turmoil. But now, shadows of doubt crept around corners where trust once flourished. In those early hours, Jake thought of Ella and Tommy. Their innocent joy filled every crevice of his heart. He envisioned Ella's wide eyes filled with wonder and Tommy's laughter that echoed like music through their home. The idea of shattering their world, of revealing cracks in the foundation he'd worked so hard to build, clawed at him. Just then, the children's voices cut through his thoughts. Lounging in the doorway, their curious gazes bounced between Jake and Lisa. "Daddy, what's wrong?" Ella asked, her brows knitting together. "Is Mommy okay?" A pang of sorrow gripped Jake. How could he explain a world built on secrets? Lisa's quick reassurance felt hollow in the silence that followed. It was a moment that solidified Jake's fear. Their innocent faith in a perfect family was precariously perched on a fragile truth. The tension between Jake and Lisa swirled thick like the summer air. Each glance felt like regret, every word aimed at fixing what was broken, only seemed to drive them further apart. "We can make it work, right? We've always been strong together," she pleaded one night, but Jake felt the distance widen like a canyon at the words. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As dawn approached, Jake was suspended in a chilling mix of hope and despair. Just when he thought the shadows of doubt would consume him, the voices of their neighbors echoed in his mind, those veterans who had faced the darkness of their own struggles. Maybe they could help Lisa and Jake understand that vulnerability could pave a road toward healing, rather than destruction. Or perhaps the burden was too heavy. Was it too late to unravel the lies? Would their family survive this storm, or would they crumble under the weight of unspoken truths? The dawn light painted the room, but inside Jake's heart, darkness loomed, leaving everything hanging in the balance as he stood on the threshold of a life he once thought was unshakable. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the thin curtains, laying a pale glow over the room. Jake's heart still raced, a relentless drum in his chest. He had barely slept, rolling through the past hours like a car driven over gravel. As he rubbed the sleep from his eyes, he recognized the urgent stillness around him. Lisa was already awake, her silhouette framed against the kitchen window, the faint scent of burnt toast wafting through the air. He stepped quietly to the threshold, trying to read her expression. Was it guilt? Shame? Or was she simply lost in thought? "Morning," Jake said cautiously, testing the waters. "Hey," she replied, her voice soft but strained. "I tried to make breakfast, but it didn't go as planned." She offered a weak smile, trying to lighten the mood, but it felt like a desperate attempt to patch a broken window. "Do you want me to help?" he asked, stepping into the kitchen as Ella and Tommy padded in, still in their pajamas, sleep clinging to their eyelids. "We're hungry," Tommy whined, rubbing a fist against his cheek. Jake glanced at Lisa, her eyes darting away, as if already knowing where their conversation would lead. "I can whip up some scrambled eggs and toast," he added to the kids, trying to ignore the weight in the room. As he moved around the kitchen, cracking eggs and stirring them in a pan, he tried to focus on the clinks of utensils rather than the thoughts hammering at the back of his mind. Yet every sound felt amplified: the sizzling of the eggs, the murmurs of Ella and Tommy excitedly discussing their plans for the day. "Daddy, will you take us to the park later?" Ella asked as she yawned, her brown curls bouncing with each word. "Of course," he said, forcing a smile. It was hard to feign enthusiasm when his gut twisted with uncertainty. After breakfast, as Jake cleaned up the kitchen, he stole a glance at Lisa, who seemed trapped in her own worries. Their eyes met briefly before she looked away, defensiveness weaving through her motions. It felt like daylight, yet a storm was brewing inside. "Can we talk?" he finally asked, the words escaping before he could pull them back. Lisa hesitated, her hands gripping the edge of the counter as she braced herself. "Jake. Just tell me what's going on," he urged, keeping his tone steady despite how fragile he felt. She searched his face, deep worry shadowing her features. "I didn't want you to find out this way. I thought it would be easier to carry it alone." "Easier?" he echoed, frustration mounting. "Easier for who? You or me?" "For Ella and Tommy." "What are you hiding?" The silence stretched, suffocating. She finally let out a trembling breath. "It's about the money. I've been keeping things from you. Bills, debt. I borrowed money to keep up the appearances." His stomach twisted. "You borrowed money? From whom?" "There were loans, high-interest ones. They piled up when I lost my job." Her voice broke and the truth settled heavily between them. And in that moment, Jake felt a flicker of something: anger, betrayal, but also an overwhelming sense of protectiveness. They were both dancing on a raft in a stormy sea, and it could tip either way. "I can't believe this," he said, his voice low. "You should have told me. We're a team. How do we fix this together if you won't let me in?" "But what if I told you and it broke everything?" Her eyes moistened, vulnerability spilling out. "We can navigate through it together," he said, easing closer. "But we have to be honest now." As Lisa stood, tears brimming, a cloud of uncertainty hung overhead. Would this truth help them rise stronger, or would it shatter the carefully constructed facade they built? His heart thudded. There was no going back now. Each word said, each hidden truth unveiled added weight to their fragile connection. But as fear washed over him, another feeling emerged. Maybe this was the beginning of unearthing something necessary, something that had to break to let them breathe again. Would they fight for their family, or would this revelation send them tumbling into an irreparable rift? As the air thinned around them, one question loomed. Could love survive amidst the ruins of secrets, or was the truth a bitter pill too hard to swallow? Jake swallowed hard, the weight of Lisa's admission pressing down on him. Silence filled the space, shimmering with unspoken fears and possibilities. He wanted to reach out to her, to hold her hand and reassure her that they could get through this. But instead, he felt the anger creeping back, mixing with that ominous sense of betrayal. "What am I supposed to do with this?" he asked, frustration creeping into his tone. "How do we move forward from here?" "I don't know," Lisa exclaimed, her voice breaking. "I thought maybe I could fix it before you found out. I thought I could manage on my own. It was so stupid, so reckless." "Stupid? Reckless?" "Lisa, it's not just your life here. We're a family. You've dragged us into your mess." As the words spilled from his mouth, he felt the sting of regret. This wasn't who he wanted to be, but it was how he felt cornered, angry. "Jake, please," she said, tears spilling down her cheeks, each one a silent scream for understanding. "Don't you see? I was scared. I wanted to protect you, protect the kids. I didn't want to add to our burdens." He turned away, needing space to breathe but only finding a tighter knot in his chest. The kids were moving around in the living room, blissfully unaware of the turmoil unfolding in the kitchen. His heart ached at the thought of how this might change everything. They deserved better than this broken version of their parents. "I need to think," Jake said finally, his voice strained. He pushed through the door into the living room, hoping the innocence of Ella and Tommy would soothe his fraying nerves. But as he sat on the couch, watching them play with their toys, his mind was a battlefield, every giggle was a reminder of the light they'd once known. He was scared of how this revelation could cast a dark shadow over their future. Could he still see joy in those moments if everything crumbled under the weight of their secrets? Time ticked by in the quiet of the living room. Every tick sounded like a clock counting down, as if he needed to make a choice: stay, fight, or turn away, protect his heart from further hurt. Moments later, Lisa joined him, her expression a mixture of hope and apprehension. "Jake," she started, her voice trembling. "I want to fix this. I'll do whatever it takes. Just please don't give up on us." He looked into her eyes, searching for the truth hidden behind those tears. Did he still see the woman he loved there? Beneath the regrets and the fears, was there a pathway to healing? "What does that even look like?" he asked. "How do we fix this? I can't just ignore what you've done. We talk about it. We confront the reality together," Lisa replied, her tone firming slightly. "We face the consequences of my actions, not just for us, but for the kids. We owe it to them." The sound of Ella giggling filtered through the room, a reminder of what was at stake. For a second, Jake felt his heart soften. Maybe he could allow a flicker of hope in this chaotic moment. Maybe they could start each new day, facing their mess instead of hiding from it. "Okay," he finally said, his voice steady yet hesitant. "Let us talk. But it won't be easy. I need you to be completely honest. No more hiding. Promise," she said, tears still glistening but now mixed with determination. They exchanged a moment of understanding, but it was fragile, a thin thread binding them that could either hold firm or snap under pressure. As they prepared to talk, Jake's thoughts drifted. Could courage emerge from this struggle? Could their love transform into something stronger, or were they just grasping at a dying ember? He had no answers, only the soft pull of hope holding him in place. In that moment, the weight of decisions loomed larger than before. With their family hanging in the balance, one new challenge bubbled to the surface. What secrets were waiting to be uncovered alongside the truth, and would Lisa's willingness to admit them be enough to mend their broken bond? As the sun dipped below the horizon, a heavy stillness settled over the house. Jake could feel the tension lingering in the air, like static before a storm. He glanced over at Lisa, her hands nervously twisting the fabric of her shirt. He wished for a world where they could just be a couple again, without these burdens and hard truths snaking between them. "Where do we start?" he finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Let's just go back to the beginning," Lisa suggested, each word carefully weighed. "It might help explain where everything went wrong." Jake nodded slowly, his mind racing back to the carefree days when life felt simple. They were happy then, navigating through life hand in hand. He remembered the day they bought the house, the laughter of the kids, and the dreams they used to share. "It all changed, didn't it?" Jake said, trying to piece together how they had gotten to this point. "When you started working all those extra hours." "I know," she interrupted, panic rising in her voice. "But it wasn't what you think. I wasn't trying to pull away from you, I thought I was helping us. I was working late to pay off the bills, to give us a little more ease," Lisa explained, her tone pleading. "But then you met Mark," he replied, the words spilling out before he had fully processed them. The bitterness was sharper than he intended. "Jake, no," she said quickly, the urgency in her voice almost breaking. "That wasn't it at all. I needed reassurance, support. I thought I was doing the right thing by lying." Jake shot back, the anger bubbling again. "You were planning things without telling me. You let it all escalate until it became a mess. Because I was scared. I was terrified of disappointing you." Lisa's emotions broke through, her voice cracking as fresh tears fell. "I didn't want to burden you with my doubts." Jake felt a surge of frustration mixed with compassion. "But you've done just that. We could have faced it together. Don't you realize that?" Her eyes widened, and for a moment, they shared a silence, heavy, charged. Jake recognized something flickering there, deeper than turmoil, the spark of vulnerability. "I should have trusted you," Lisa finally said, her breath trembling. "I should have known that wouldn't be a burden. It was my own fear making me push you away." Perhaps this was the turning point they needed. They both sat fixed in their own thoughts, the enormity of their love cascading over their shared confessions. Ella and Tommy's laughter floated in from the other room, a sweet reminder of what they had built together. In that flickering light, Jake found a fragile glimmer of hope. "Maybe it's not too late," he murmured, the words feeling both frightening and liberating. "If we can let go of the blame, be real with each other." Lisa's eyes softened. "I want that, Jake. I want to be honest, with you and with myself. It's time I shared everything." Jake held her gaze, knowing instinctively that what was coming next would be the hardest part. He could almost feel the weight of the next layer of truth hanging in the air, the shadows that must now be confronted. "Every secret?" he asked, a knot forming in his stomach. "Everything," Lisa breathed, barely meeting his eyes. "Will you still want to hear it? Will you be able to stay?" The chill that ran down Jake's spine was pervasive. He didn't know what lay ahead. Could they truly unravel the mess, or were they straying into a darker place? Would every truth build them up, or shatter what remained, with the weight of unspoken confessions between them, he wondered. What would she reveal next, and could he handle it? Would each whispered lie step them closer to healing, or tear them apart further? The heartache wasn't over yet, the hardest truths were still coming to light. Jake's heart raced. "Okay," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos inside him. "Let us hear it." Lisa drew a shaky breath, her eyes glistening with tears. "It started before Mark, with the promotions and the long hours. I felt like I was losing grip on everything. I thought if I just put in more time, it would fix us. Then I started going out with coworkers. It was dumb, just drinks after work and casual chats, but it made me feel seen again." He didn't know how to respond. The years of them nestled into routine suddenly felt like a chasm between them, a distance created by her hidden choices. "You enjoyed it?" he asked, trying to keep his voice calm when everything in him wanted to shout. "Just fleeting moments," Lisa insisted, her own breath catching in her throat. "But it was different. I felt valued and appreciated." She paused, squaring her shoulders, ready to lay bare what they both feared most. "Then came the moment I crossed a line. We were all drunk. Mark kissed me." The confession hung between them, heavy and suffocating. Jake blinked, struggling to catch the fragments of his heart that felt splintered. Did you want him to?" "No." The urgency in her voice shot through the silence. "It was a mistake. In that moment, I didn't push him away, and I regretted it. I felt ashamed, Jake. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to hurt you, but it ate at me. It made everything worse." The darkness lay in what came next. He could feel it pressing, the way her shoulders slumped, the weight of guilt spilling out. "I kept seeing him at work. Every time we passed each other, I felt like I was living a lie, trapped in my own making. I panicked, and instead of facing it, I pushed you further away. Why didn't you just tell me?" Jake felt dizzy, grasping for his footing. We could have worked through it together. You shut me out. I was scared you wouldn't forgive me, she whispered. I thought losing you would be the worst thing, but in keeping that secret, I lost you anyway. Their children's laughter faded into the distance, replaced by the haunting silence of the heavy burden that lay in the room. Jake felt a tidal wave of emotions crash over him, hurt, anger, love, and a flicker of understanding. But you could have trusted me, he murmured, his heart wrestling with the pain of betrayal and the bond they had shared. I now realize the cost of my fears, she said, tears spilling at last. It's not just about what happened with Mark. It's also about everything I've hidden, starting from when I began to feel inadequate as a wife and a mother. Jake ached to reach for her to wipe away those tears, but the chasm felt wider than ever. And there's more. You said everything. What else have you been keeping from me? Lisa crumbled beneath her own sorrow, pulling her knees close. Everything I've neglected to share. Her voice broke as she finally leaned into the truth that had tormented her. I lost myself over time, scared I wouldn't be good enough for you or for our life. The conversation spiraled into depths neither had expected to reach that night. As her words poured out, so did years of regret, shame, and fear that held them hostage. Each secret unveiled felt like a step toward healing and yet, sent shockwaves of uncertainty through Jake. Where do we go from here? Jake finally asked, his heart torn. Would they be able to rebuild from the ashes of these confessions? She looked up, hope flickering behind those tear-streaked eyes. Maybe if we start by being completely honest with ourselves, we can not only find our way back but create something new. Together. The light seemed to shift around them, a simple reminder that understanding can often flicker like a single candle in a dark room. But could they trust this fragile path crafted by words spoken under the weight of night? And just as that thought settled in Jake's mind, a familiar car horn echoed outside, drawing his attention to the window. What if the past wasn't quite done with them yet? Wait, what was that? Jake's heart pounded again. Is someone here? Jake's pulse quickened. The uncertainty in Lisa's gaze matched his own. She followed his line of sight, eyes wide and anxious. Maybe it's just a neighbor, she said, but her voice trembled, betraying her certainty. The sounds of their children playing faded, leaving an eerie stillness in its place. The horn blared again, a sharp note that sliced through the tension. I don't think so, Jake replied, moving toward the door. Every step felt weighted with a mix of dread and anticipation. It's late. Who could it be? He hesitated for a moment at the door, casting a glance back at Lisa. Her expression was a mix of fear and remorse, as if she already sensed whatever was coming would challenge their tentative truce. With a deep breath, he opened the door just a crack. At first, the night looked ordinary, but shadows danced in the dim light from the porch. He stepped out, straining his ears, but the street was still, save for the distant noises of a few crickets. And then there it was again, a soft knock, urgent yet cautious. Jake! A voice called out, familiar yet filled with an undertone of concern. He swung the door wide open, revealing Mark standing there, shivering slightly against the night's chill. Relief washed over him, quickly replaced by a surge of anger. The last person he wanted to see right now, at this hour, was the man who had ignited this storm. Mark, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. What are you doing here? I need to talk to you. It's important, Mark stammered, his eyes darting over Jake's shoulder toward Lisa, Jake's fists clenched. You shouldn't be here, especially not now. Please, just hear me out, Mark insisted, stepping into the threshold despite Jake's posture. It's about Lisa. The mention of her name hung heavy in the air, adding weight to the already thick atmosphere. Jake shot a glance back at Lisa, who now stood behind him, a mix of apprehension and defiance written on her face. What could you possibly have to say that hasn't already been said? Jake snapped, the edge in his tone sharper than he intended. I know you two are going through a tough time, Mark began, his voice trembling. But I need you to understand something. Lisa isn't the only one struggling. I've been facing things too, and I think you need to hear my side. Your side? Jake scoffed, disbelief flooding through him. You think it matters after what happened? It does. Mark exclaimed, desperation creeping in. Because it involves you, too. There is something I didn't mention, a piece I've kept to myself. Lisa took a step forward, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Mark, what do you mean? Mark looked between them, swallowing hard. When you kissed me, I thought it was just a mistake, and I didn't want to burden you with my issues. But I know now that my feelings have been part of this whole mess. I never wanted to come between you two. Jake's heart raced again. What more could possibly unfold tonight? He felt trapped in the crossfire of emotions. Anger, betrayal, confusion muddled his thoughts. Lisa's eyes darted, panic-stricken, as she gazed at Mark. Are you saying there's more? Mark took a deep breath, leaning slightly forward. Yes. Just can we go somewhere private? I can't say it all here. Jake crossed his arms, resisting the urge to slam the door shut. It was a horrible idea, but curiosity gnawed at him. Was there truth buried in Mark's plea? Behind him, Lisa held her breath, wrestling between the fractures of trust and the possibility of clarity. What's your conclusion, Lisa? Jake asked, turning to look at her. Do we hear him out? She whispered. For a moment, the world around them faded, a silence crackling with potential answers that could change everything. Jake glanced back at Mark, ready to hear whatever truth was lingering in the shadows. Fine. But know this, it better be worth it. As they stepped outside into the night, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this was a moment that could reshape their lives completely. What if this secret held the key to everything they'd been battling, but the real question lingered. In his mind, could they find a way back from this chaos? Or would it lead to even deeper fractures? The air was thick outside, pregnant with tension. Jake felt the cool breeze kiss his skin, contrasting sharply with the heat pooling in his chest. Lisa stood beside him, her expression an unreadable puzzle. Mark shifted slightly, almost as if he could sense the weight of their combined disbelief. Okay, out with it, Mark, Jake urged, his voice barely above a whisper. The hunger for answers gnawed at him. What could be so dire that it required this late-night visit? Mark glanced around, as if the shadows might have ears. There's something you both don't know, something I should have told you a long time ago. He hesitated, framing the words before unleashing them. I was never just your friend, Jake. I have feelings for Lisa, and I think she has feelings for me too. A taut silence enveloped them, more suffocating than the night itself. Jake's heart crashed against his ribs. The confession felt like a punch in the gut, a cruel twist in the game they were all playing. He looked to Lisa, whose lips parted slightly, clearly caught off guard. Mark, Lisa breathed, her eyes swirling with confusion. This isn't the time. No, it really is, Mark insisted, desperation edging his tone. He stood a little taller, steadier, as if he had finally found a ground on which to stand. I care about you, Lisa. I always have. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. The corners of Jake's vision blurred, frustration and disbelief spiraling. You think this is a joke? You expect us to sit here and untangle this mess while you pretend everything is fine? Mark shook his head vehemently, his vulnerability cutting through Jake's anger. I'm not saying it's fine. I'm saying I've been struggling with my feelings and it's eaten me alive. I thought I could move on, but seeing you two together, it was harder than I expected. I care about you both. There was an honesty that struck a chord, but Jake felt himself wavering at the precipice of rage and understanding. So you decided to kiss my wife, just to sort things out? Lisa gasped, visibly shaken. Jake, it wasn't like that. I didn't want to. Then what was it? He demanded. What was it? Tell me, because right now, it sounds like a mess you all made and I'm just the guy standing in the middle of it. Mark stepped forward again, closing the distance. The vulnerability turned to resolve as he looked Jake dead in the eye. What if I told you I found something out? Something that might clear the air. Jake froze, the challenge in Mark's gaze forcing him to consider the implications. He motioned with his hand, an inexplicable openness to it all. What is it? The kiss, it was just one part. There are other dynamics at play. Lisa, I didn't just walk into your life, I was drawn into it. From the beginning, when we first met, there was something more. Something I shouldn't have ignored. Jake glanced at Lisa again, who stood tense, her body rigid, caught between embarrassment and betrayal. What do you mean, Mark? Are you saying our lives have been manipulated by something outside of us? Yes. I didn't want to believe it at first, but there are events and people intertwined in our lives that even I didn't anticipate. It's complicated, but I can explain it all if you give me a chance to lay it all out. The gravity of his words landed heavily, igniting both intrigue and concern. Jake shifted his stance, the pulse of his heart a cacophony in his ears. Could this be the thread that unravels all their tension? Lisa looked back and forth between them, her brow knitted. Jake, maybe we should listen to him. There's a piece of this we still don't understand. Jake inhaled deeply, deliberating the next step. All right. Let us hear it then. But if this is just some ploy to escape blame, it's not, Mark interjected firmly. I promise. The air crackled with the weight of decision. As Mark began to speak again, revealing the layers of a story Jake was not entirely prepared for, a chilling realization crept into the background of Jake's mind. What if this revelation didn't just change their current situation, but altered the very foundation of everything they believed in? The night stretched on, each word woven in the fabric of their shared lives, destined to either bind them closer or tear them apart forever. Mark took a deep breath, his eyes reflecting the shifting emotions around him. All right, here it goes. I've discovered that there's been a pattern. People close to us, things we thought were coincidences, they're all linked. He paused, gauging their reactions, watching as the tension in the air thickened. First off, remember when I told you I lost my job? How it happened out of nowhere. Mark's voice was steady, but Jake could see the way the muscles in his jaw tightened, as if he were bracing for impact. That job wasn't just a random layoff. It was orchestrated by someone who wanted to keep us all apart. It's not just personal, there's a bigger scheme involved. Friends, co-workers, they're all pieces in this puzzle. Lisa took a small step back, her breath hitched. What do you mean orchestrated? By whom? I wish I had all the answers, but I've been looking into things. There's an organization, no one knows their name, but they've been tracking our lives. They know our friendships, our relationships. They pull strings. They've been feeding information to manipulate our decisions, leading us to confrontations like this one. Jake felt a lump in his throat. That sounds crazy, Mark. You seriously expect us to believe that? Think about it. Mark's voice grew louder, the urgency palpable. Has anything in your life been completely normal lately? The job losses? The unexpected arguments? It's all connected. I've seen the patterns arise, and I think Lisa and I might be been targeted because of our connection, but I also think it's time you understood why it's not just about my feelings anymore. A shiver raced down Jake's spine. Had he been too absorbed in his own turmoil to notice the world around him? What are you saying? It's all a game to them. Yes. And we're just players, Mark continued, fervor igniting his words. If we don't stand together, if we don't figure this out, we might lose everything. You, Lisa, even me. We need to reclaim our narrative. Lisa blinked, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and curiosity. How do you know all this? Who told you? I stumbled onto it while digging through some old documents I had from work. I found emails I shouldn't have seen. They referenced us hints at our upcoming choices, decisions laid out like a game board. It chilled me to the bone. Jake shook his head in disbelief, the absurdity clawing at the edges of his consciousness. You expect us to act like we're in some thriller movie? This sounds insane. But even as he said it, he could feel the deep-rooted fear swelling, the fear of the unknown. What if this was true? What if they weren't just tangled in messy feelings, but in something far darker? Listen, Jake, I get it. It sounds wild. But I wouldn't bring this to you if I didn't believe it's urgent, Mark replied, fervor sharpening his focus. This isn't just ruining our friendship or your marriage, it's a threat to our lives. We have to dig deeper. We have to take control. The reality of their night began to feel surreal. A connection felt painfully evident, even if it lurked just beneath the surface. Jake glanced instinctively at Lisa. Her reaction mirrored his own, a swirling blend of disbelief, concern, and a burgeoning urge to uncover whatever lay beneath the surface of their lives. What do we do? Lisa whispered, her voice a delicate strand quaking in the thick atmosphere. Jake felt the steel of resolve building with each heartbeat. We dive deeper together. We figure this out. But you both must promise me this, no secrets. If we're all entwined, we face this as a team. That means honesty and trust. Chilling silence surrounded them. Their lives had been cracked wide open, yet Jake felt an ember of hope. Maybe in this chaos, they could find the truth, and as they stood there, trembling at the edge of the unknown, Jake's mind swirled with questions: who was behind this mess, and how far did it go? But more pressing was the echo of Mark's words. What if everything they thought they knew was a lie? How deep did this conspiracy run? The room buzzed with an electric tension, the air thick with anxiety and unspoken fears. Mark's words echoed in Jake's mind, replaying like a scene stuck on loop. What if their lives were a facade? What if everything that mattered to him was just a play directed by unseen hands? We need proof, Jake declared, his voice cutting through the murky silence. If there's an organization involved, then we should find something concrete to show others. This is not just about us anymore, it's about everyone else caught in this web. Mark nodded, but Jake could see the doubt flicker in his eyes. Finding proof means more digging. We're up against something bigger than ourselves. And we can't let fear stop us, Lisa added, her voice steadier now. If they're tracking us, we'll have to outsmart them. This isn't just about our past, it's our future we have to fight for. A flicker of determination ignited in Jake's chest. He hadn't felt it in a long while, but now it surged forward like a long-awaited breath after being underwater. What are we waiting for? Let us start tonight. With no time to waste, they formulated a plan amid the dim light of Mark's kitchen. The clock ticked incessantly, the sound almost mocking, as if questioning if they had the courage to move forward. Lisa offered to manage their online presence. I'll dig through social media posts, see if there's anything unusual about our interactions. It might lead to connections we never considered. I'll handle phone records and any emails, Mark said, his brows narrowing with focus. There's gotta be something out there, anything that hints at who might be behind this. Jake felt the weight of their choice settle in. And I'll revisit the places we've been recently. Our interactions, the people we see, anything out of the ordinary there might give us a clue. The room filled with an anxious energy as they divided their tasks, their hearts pounding with a mix of dread and determination. The uncertainty loomed like a shadow, but together, there was a flicker of hope. Before they could part ways, Lisa hesitated. What if they catch on? What if we put ourselves in more danger? His throat tightened. Then we stand our ground. We're not doing this alone. We have each other. The trio started their search. Mark's kitchen glow felt too warm for the chilling reality they faced, but they pushed through. Hours slipped by, filled with small victories and disappointing dead ends. They found spurious connections hinting at an invisible but omnipresent force watching them, gathering information, feeding off their weaknesses. Suddenly, Lisa's voice pierced the silence, tremulous but urgent. "Jake, come look at this." He rushed to her side, his heart racing. On the screen was a thread that mentioned their names distinctly. Names tied together in a discussion about plans, choices, decisions that had been made for them before they were even aware of it. His stomach churned. This can't be real. But the mounting evidence against them felt all too tangible. The more they opened the files, the more they found their lives outlined like pawns in a game. They were being watched, their vulnerabilities exploited, everything they valued under threat. Mark clenched his fists, desperation weaving through his resolve. "We have to confront them, whoever they are. We can't go on like this." "Not yet," Jake replied, dread mixing with urgency. "We need more information first. Only then can we confront them on solid ground. It's too dangerous otherwise." As they gathered around the table, chips of paper strewn everywhere, one thought lingered heavily in the air: could digging deeper expose a truth they weren't ready to face? Jake could feel the unfamiliar weight of fear clawing at his throat. "This is it for us, isn't it?" Lisa whispered, her eyes glistening with vulnerability. "There's no turning back." Jake's heart pounded with uncertainty, each faint echo of its rhythm a reminder of the stakes they were holding. He looked at Mark, then to Lisa, two people he cared about, now entwined in this conspiracy. And as they leaned closer, their breath laced with trepidation, one question hovered above them: how far were they willing to go to reclaim their lives? But even more chilling was the thought of what lay ahead, lurking just beyond their grasp. If the truth was just a whisper away, would it bring the answers they sought or more chaos than they could handle? The sun peeked timidly through the curtains, illuminating the remnants of their chaotic night. Jake rubbed his eyes, a wave of exhaustion crashing over him as he navigated through a world that felt simultaneously foreign and familiar. The echoes of their frenzied revelations hung heavy in the air. What had begun as a tangled web of secrets now felt like an awakening. But could the fragile threads of honesty hold them through whatever lay ahead? He glanced around the room. Lisa sat at the table, her face a canvas of determination and worry. Mark hovered near the door, his posture reflecting the weight of what hadn't been resolved. The air hummed with anticipation, every second stretching into eternity. "Are we ready?" Jake finally asked, his voice steadying as his heart raced. They had delved into the depths of their fears, now it was time to confront the unknown. "More than ready," Lisa replied, a flicker of strength igniting in her eyes. "We need to take the next step. We owe it to ourselves." Determination coursed through Jake's veins. The specter of all they had battled, the lies, the pain, had shifted. He clenched his fists, remembering the laughter of Ella and Tommy, the very essence of what they needed to fight for. "All right," he said. "Let us dig deeper." The trio gathered their findings, data scattered across papers and digital threads. As their minds melded in frantic discussion, Jake felt something changing. This wasn't just about unraveling the chaos, it was about patching together their family. They shared their fears but also fostered a glimmer of hope intertwined with a renewed determination to reclaim their lives. Hours passed, hands moving tirelessly over phones and laptops. Fingerprints of their lives were laid bare as they unraveled connections that shouldn't exist, coincidences that now felt orchestrated. Yet even in the fatigue, moments of shared laughter danced through the tension. "I can't believe we found that," Mark chuckled, revisiting a careless comment made during dinner last week. "It's like we were being nudged toward each other," Lisa mused, her brows creased in thought. "Maybe we were supposed to confront this together." Jake met her gaze, their eyes locking. In that split second, something shifted. It was like glimpsing the dawn after a long night. "Maybe the burden is less when shared," he said softly, feeling his resolve strengthen. "It's time we show our kids that we're willing to fight, no matter what." They agreed to meet the following day at the diner, a hub of community that also offered a sense of familiarity. It would be the perfect backdrop for their confrontation, a place where they could lay everything on the table and where the secrets lurking in the shadows could finally meet the light. the next day arrived with a sense of urgency that electrified the air. Inside the diner, sunlight streamed through the large windows. Families congregated, laughter echoing around them, but the three of them felt distant from the joy. The gravity of their mission weighed tightly on their shoulders. Their eyes darted nervously around the room, but they kept sight of one another, drawing strength from their shared vulnerability. Then, with a flicker of hesitation, Mark broke the silence. If what we're facing is as big as we suspect, there's a chance we'll face backlash. We have to stand united. Jake nodded, feeling the energy in the room shift slightly. We will. Together, we're stronger than any secrets trying to tear us apart. As they settled into their booth, the door swung open. An unexpected figure strode in. Sam, an investigator who had brushed against their lives and now seemed poised to become integral in their quest. He approached with a look of determination mixed with urgency. I heard you're looking for answers, he said, his tone all business. We need to talk. Hours later, the conversation intensified. Secrets were laid bare, and each revelation connected dots that had previously scattered like fallen leaves. Sam's insights brought to life the unseen network that had ensnared them, illuminating the truth they had nearly drowned in. You're not alone in this, Sam assured them. There's a community standing behind you, ready to help. But you have to expose the foundation they built on doubt and fear. Jake felt a rush of empowerment coursing through him. They had resilience together, they could reclaim not only their lives but also their very identity as a family. Let us do it, he said, his heart full of fierce determination. Lisa's hand slipped into his, squeezing softly, the warmth breaking through the walls of uncertainty that still lingered. For the kids, she whispered. For us, Jake affirmed, his resolve solidifying as he glanced at Mark. Their past couldn't undo what lay ahead, and as they stood at the edge of this new chapter, the possibility of transformation shimmered in the distance. In that moment, the air shifted again. Courage filled the spaces previously occupied by silence, and as they prepared to take their first steps into the unknown, Jake felt a wave of joy wash over him. They were no longer just battling individual demons, they were fighting together, hand in hand. The truth wasn't merely a weapon, it was a bridge leading them back to love, resilience, and unity. As they walked out into the sunlight, a collective breath escaped their lips, an unspoken agreement hanging in the air. This was their next adventure and they were ready to embrace it. Don't let another moment pass without subscribing to our channel. Hit that button now to be part of our journey into the next incredible stories. Leave a like if you felt the transformation in this chapter. You need to help us reach more hearts. And please, comment below with your thoughts on how Lisa, Jake, and Mark faced their truth. Share this moment with 5 friends who deserve to believe in the power of unity and love. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait, not even one more second, to join our community.